Well, hello out there, beautiful internet people. I'm Nicholas Arsakea. New year, new threads. Or maybe the camera's so high up you can't tell. Yellow. Very, very nice lemon yellow. Lemon yellow. Change from the orange. Today I've got a story that's going to shock you. I saw one of those little book receptacles on the street the other day, and I saw a Star Trek novel in there, Planet of Judgment, and I thought, well, I want that. But I saw Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and I recall having heard that name before, but I'm like, I'm not into Star Wars fan fiction. Leave it there. Then I realize, oh my gosh, that'll be valuable. So I go back, pick it up, because it's the first Star Wars fan fiction ever written. Or I suppose it's not fan fiction, because it is licensed. You know, of course, many people will know, especially sci-fi enthusiasts will know that the Star Trek Extended Universe is actually usually pretty good. That book I got, Planet of Judgment, is pretty good because you can pretty much fit any adventure you want in on the 5-year voyage of the Starship Enterprise, and you can have Kirk be the captain, and Sulu be the lieutenant, and Spock be the science officer, and McCoy be the doctor, because, you know, it's 5 years. You can pretty much fit any adventure in there that wasn't in the original series or whatever. But Star Wars is a lot more tight with its canon, so you can't really fit anything in there because it's only limited to 9 movies. And these 9 movies have a very strict timeline with what happens chronologically speaking. So whatever is in one of these books is, according to the gospel, a legend, and it never really happened, or something like that. The problem being that this book, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, there are some books which are so horrendously bad in the Star Wars extended canon that fellows like Austin McConnell have commented on. But this is the first work in the Star Wars Extended Universe, and many people, myself not included, would call it passable. They'd call this passable. I would never call this passable. It has so many flaws, and being a Star Wars fan myself, I think that the new series, the new trilogy, that's all I want to go see these days. In the movies. It's the best mainstream series you got going running nowadays. So, I gotta say, this novel, it's just not good. It's just not good. It's just not good. Because after seeing the original trilogy and, the whole thing, and what a great filmmaker George Lucas is, I can't imagine this book being turned into a compelling movie. Where did this thing come from? This weird little artifact? Well, it came because Alan Dean Foster was hired by George Lucas to write a sequel for Star Wars. This was a backup sequel, in case Star Wars didn't do very well at the box office in some kind of insane alt history where no one's heard of Star Wars. This would be the equivalent of Empire Strikes Back. And there would be a film version made. And it could say on the front cover, now a film from 20th Century Fox, or whatever makes Star Wars. My point being that this book was written with the budget in mind. There's no space battles, there's no space. It all takes place on a swamp planet. Now, of course, the cover of this book looks kind of misleadingly like the scene in Empire Strikes Back where Luke confronts Darth Vader during the trippy hallucinogenic sequence that Yoda gives him. I mean, it does kind of look like that, right? It kind of does. You got the swamp planet, you got Darth Vader foreboding in the background there, and of course, you might think, oh, this is like Empire Strikes Back, right? Like, yeah, how much can it differ? Now, the fact is, I like Star Wars A New Hope, but it's just a fun space adventure. Empire Strikes Back is so dark, and it introduces Yoda, and you got Han and Leia and their great romance, and then you got Yoda. It introduces Yoda, and it's the one where Darth Vader says that he's Luke's father. And that really matters, because as a protagonist, you've got to be connected to the villain in some way. Empire Strikes Back, I'd put it as one of the greatest sequels of all time. This sequel is complete garbage. Now you got just the worst storyline. You got just the cheapest storyline. This was designed with money in mind. You got the incredible effects of Empire Strikes Back, and this book, which I'm holding right here, was designed to throw all that out. No space battles. There was originally set to be a dogfight at the beginning, but George Lucas was like, no, Alan, I think this Star Wars thing isn't going to pan. So, thank gosh Star Wars is such a beloved cultural institution. I really appreciate Star Wars more after reading this. This book is not good. Oh my gosh, it's not good. Why is it not good? It's set, like I said, entirely on a swamp planet, except Yoda isn't there. Yoda is like one of the best characters from the originals. He is the adorable little green old puppet man. He's not in this. He's not in this. And that really sucks. It's not his planet. It's just some random planet. I mean, I guess maybe Empire kind of took the swamp planet from this and made it Yoda's planet, but the trouble being that there's no Yoda. There's no Han Solo or Chewbacca in this either, and that's because Harrison Ford hadn't signed a contract to be in the second one. But what about Chewbacca? You could just have Chewbacca in this. He doesn't need to sign a contract. He's not a real person. Also, Han Solo is mentioned once on the last two pages is dedicated to Han Solo when Luke says, I know another man, a smuggler and a pirate, who once thought the same way as you. At least I have to assume that's Han Solo. It never says. And it treats Han Solo like he's some kind of dispensable part of the franchise. No, he is the rogue space swashbuckler extraordinaire, and his furry pal. You don't understand. This book makes me so incredibly angry in that it has none of the pathos or insight which made the original trilogy such a wonderful series. It's a complete bore from start to finish. Because here's how it is, okay? In Star Wars 1, I think Luke kisses Leia like once. It's not gross or anything. He doesn't know she's a sister, but he doesn't care because Luke, by definition, isn't a horny character and he's not interested in relationships. What he's interested in is saving the galaxy and harnessing the Force, and he doesn't care. And Leia and Han have a nice thing going on by Star Wars 1, and it's clear that there's a relationship developing between them. Right? Now this one doesn't have Han. It takes him completely out of the picture. So there are all these insane scenes where it talks about how attracted Luke is to his own sister. It's absolutely disgusting. Like, for instance, he says, it's just the most sordid stuff. It's absolutely insane. Luke, it says, then he happened to glance down at his companion's face. It was not the face of a princess and a senator or of a leader of the Rebel Alliance, but instead that of a chilled child, mostly parted in sleep. Her lips seemed to beckon to him. He leaned closer, seeking refuge from the damp green and brown of the swamp in that hypnotic redness. He would even defend her from himself. He'd her a little lower. I was scared the camera wouldn't catch it. As I said, this book is absolutely the most perverse filth. In addition to that, Darth Vader. How does the Darth Vader of Splinter of the Mind's Eye stack up to the Darth Vader of Empire Strikes Back? The Darth Vader of Empire Strikes Back is an incredibly imposing villain. And he doesn't even have a face, you know? He walks into a room, you need to be scared, because he could choke you with his Jedi mind powers. Now here's how he talks in this cheap sequel. He's like, he's absolutely just the most cheesy, two-dimensional. He doesn't even act like he's Luke's father. Him and Luke meet in the end. He's in like the last 50 pages, and he doesn't tell Luke he's his father, because in this insane alternate universe he's not Luke's father. He's just some random bad guy. He says, like for instance, he says, You are good, Skywalker, very good indeed for a child, but the end will be the same. You have something of the Force about you, boy. A master of it you are not, however, that dooms you. Only a master could do this. And it's just like the most stupid dialogue. It's written like cheese. And Star Wars can always be kind of fun, but Darth Vader in this isn't scary because he's written like trash. Leia isn't even a character. All she does is scream. And even though this book was written with a budget in mind, there's some stuff like a giant worm and stuff that, I don't know, sounds rather expensive. I don't know. I'm not sure, because there are lightsabers in it, so I'm not sure how you could afford to do lightsabers but not a space battle. They didn't have CGI back then. They used all models. I'm not sure why George Lucas just couldn't save models from Star Wars and reuse them in Empire Strikes Back. I mean, that would be pretty budget savvy. But again, the point being, there's no space battle. So there's no Star War in this. There's just planet war. The whole thing just takes place on this boring planet. There are these aliens that are kind of like the Ewoks, except even worse. Everyone always picks at the Ewoks. I like these animals even less. And also, it's just like the worst because it has R2-D2 and C-3PO, and they're pretty much how they are in the movies, except they really don't do anything. And then there's Luke and Leia, and there's these two Yuzum, which are furry aliens. They're kind of like Wookiees, except not as interesting. And they both die at the end. Darth Vader just kills them, and then they're both just dead, which I guess is supposed to be impactful, but, it's not impactful like Han Solo dying or anything, or Darth Vader dying, or Emperor Palpatine dying. It's just like, oh, he killed them. And then they're just dead, and Luke doesn't even care. Luke is an ass in this movie. He's just such a weirdo, and just he doesn't act like how he does in the movie at all. I give this steaming pile of garbage. I give it 5 out of 10, halfway, because if this was really all George Lucas had in mind for the sequel, and again, maybe George Lucas didn't even know what the heck was in this book, but if this how the series had gone,
no way. This would not have been good. So think. It's just great. It's just great that this wasn't made. Empire Strikes Back was made instead. Because this book has no stakes. It's just a bad story, and it's complete junk. And anyone who likes it is wrong, because it's not good. Wow, I don't like it. Okay, that's been a review of Splinter of the Mind's Eye, the first ever Star Wars extended universe. I don't know why you need an extended universe. The 9 movies themselves are good enough, but then again, I'm not a nerd, so, but yeah. So that's it.